I imagine it's very, very close. And as we walk into this game here, unsurprisingly, it is close.
Both players are up a game, fighting for their lives here. In day number 3 of Mythic Championship VII, we've got 2 Gilded Geese, Shifting Ceratops, and Mayhem Devil. Probably causing Seth Manfield a few grey hairs with any additional sacrifice triggers going off. No kitty cat in the oven. Not in the oven, in the graveyard, I should say. Chemist's Insight's going to get fired off. Draw 2 cards. Finding a Nissa who shakes the world. Now that could be quite impactful for Seth Manfield indeed, and another Nightpack Ambusher.
Yeah, this is interesting. So let's step into this game here very quickly. You see on Seth's side of things, he's got access to 6 mana. One of those lands is a Castle Vantress, along with Nightpack Ambusher and 2 Wolves. Picked up another copy of Nightpack Ambusher as well. For our John to Sacrifice player here, Miguel, couple copies of Gilded Goose, Shifting Ceratops, which is not looking like an ace here against a battlefield full of green creatures. Mayhem Devil with a Witch's Oven and a Trail of Crumbs on the battlefield. Geese can make food, so a lot of difficult decisions, and one of them that's very difficult is, does Seth actually want to do something on his own main phase? Nissa is very, very appealing in a spot like this, and it's hard to argue against deploying the powerful Planeswalker right now, which I think has Miguel a little bit concerned as he's rubbing rubbing the old temples on his head.
Yeah, I think he's a slightly bit concerned. Take a look at your opponent's hand. They have way more cards than you.
Yes.
I'd be concerned too.
Now, the one thing going for Miguel here, of course, is that he does have the Trail of Crumbs engine sort of online right now to find what he's looking for. I think of a card like Corval being fairly good at the moment, as we're going to see a Nissa be deployed here by Seth. Curious how he wants to use the Planeswalker this turn.
He does have an answer for the Witch's Oven and Sorcerer's Spyglass if he decides to deploy that. But first things first, let's get this Forest rockin'. There's another 3/3 green creature on the battlefield for Seth, and it looks like we're going to send the Sorcerer's Spyglass to action. This may prompt a Witch's Oven activation from Miguel.
Really interesting with what Seth has done with his mana here, too, because he has a blue mana floating, but he's more or less putting his shields down right now. Do keep in mind, because he's played a spell, Nightpack Ambusher's not going to get the opportunity to move, and now Miguel is unsure of how he wants to move forward in what is maybe the most crucial turn of his entire tournament.
So Sorcerer's Spyglass can call Gilded Goose or Witch's Oven. Miguel obviously won't know. He has to make his decision now before that thing hits the battlefield.
And I do want to confirm, well, actually, it looks like the time might be on Seth here. Maybe Seth is, he's being prompted to name a card in this spot. Yes, he is. So as the time ticks away, Seth's decision he needs to make.
Needs to make it like now. Like right now.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
Witch's Oven is the call. So that will no longer be sacrificing anything on the battlefield as long as it is in play. So Miguel can still keep making food, can still keep sacrificing it, even if he's just munching on it himself. Blood Crypt off the top of the library. He's got a Mayhem Devil and Midnight Reaper in hand. So importantly, he can't sacrifice anything. He can just kind of run stuff into this wall of green dudes and hope something dies, but that's very unlikely.
Yeah, Midnight Reaper, Mayhem Devil, as you did mention, those are 2 cards that Seth knows about, as well as the Blood Crypt. The only thing he doesn't know is the Blood Crypt that was drawn for the turn, since Sorcerer's Spyglass does show your opponent's hand. So Seth kind of waiting here patiently. No blue mana available right now, just a forest that can tap for an additional green source because of the Nissa that's on the battlefield. So now if you are Miguel, you have to figure out a way to kind of operate without your Witch's Oven anymore, given the Sorcerer's Spyglass that's on the battlefield.
Ideally, he can draw some extra cards off of Trail of Crumbs irrespective, though, just sacrificing some food with a Gilded Geese. He needs to try and find casualties of war just to blow this battlefield away. Get this dog gone, get a land blown up, blow up Castle Vantress, Nissa, and the Sorcerer's Spyglass.
Yeah, but this isn't a bad start, because 2 Mayhem Devils and Geese sacrificing food for mana and triggering Trail of Crumbs and finding a Fabled Passage, and I don't think he's played a land yet this turn, which is worth noting. So, taking the Fabled Passage makes a lot of sense. 2 damage to the Ambusher. You play the Fabled Passage, you sack that, you get 2 more triggers from Mayhem Devils, plural. That's probably going to finish off the Ambusher, and now we're starting to whittle away this battlefield.
Oh, yes, we are indeed. Double Mayhem Devil is just so powerful. Midnight Reaper now can be deployed if he decides to. So Miguel looking pretty good here against this deck that's just been so dominant throughout this this weekend.
It is getting better. One thing that is problematic for Simic strategies, as we all know, is the lack of removal that blue and green have access to. So once Mayhem Devil, or Devils in this instance, are on the battlefield, they're kind of there for a while. And now we're going to see an attack to try to take care of Nissa. And do remember that Mayhem Devils and the sacrificing of food can really mess up some double or triple blocks here for Seth Manfield.
I think that's what we're going to see because, you know, you think, okay, 2 puppy dogs in front of the Shifting Ceratops and the forest in front of Mayhem Devil, but there's still another Gilded Goose. There's still another 2 pings per devil that can go off. So, yeah, this is going to get a little tricky.
And it looks like we are going to get a double block here on Shifting Ceratops and a single block here on Mayhem Devil. What Seth, I think, is doing with this block, though he hasn't confirmed it yet, is this: if this does take place, this kind of forces Miguel to maybe, it kind of forces Miguel's hand here in some instances, which I think he's happy to do. So he'll start by sacrificing a food, 2 Mayhem Devil triggers, and a Trail of Them trigger. It's getting messy here.
Oh, yes. So he's prioritizing keeping the Shifting Ceratops alive. I don't think there's a way for him to kill this forest, blocking the other Mayhem Devil. So just kind of going to let this one go to the wolves, as it were.
So this means the Shifting Ceratops is going to live on this exchange.
Could trample through with the Shifting Ceratops. Get through for 3 on Nissa at least. Would have been nice to have the Midnight Reaper down before that, just to get the card off the Mayhem Devil dying.
Yes and no. Part of the reason that you don't do that is because if you're Miguel, you want to bluff something. Yeah. So you're leaving your options available, or at least making Seth think about things that, as we know, don't exist. But he may overthink himself a little bit here. So now, when we walked in this game, things were looking pretty good with Seth and his Nightpack Ambusher and a bunch of wolves and Nissa on the battlefield. All of those are gone now. He does have a 3/3 island. That's a land. That land is a 3/3 attacker now. But this game has taken a turn in favor of Miguel, I think.
Yeah.
And this block makes a lot of sense to me, too. Not overvaluing Midnight Reaper because he doesn't want the Midnight Reaper to potentially kill him or deal him too much damage. So he'll take his card, which is a bit of a brick here, but Wicked Wolf, I would argue, is not.
No, definitely not. That's, you know, Wicked Wolf and Nightpack Ambusher, they have this long-running beef between the two of them. The one is a lone wolf, obviously, and the other one's got this pack behind him. So they've just been at war through all of Eldraine. There we go, that's my story for you, friends. But let's get back to the match here. Unfortunately, drawing a dud with the Witch's Oven, but Wicked Wolf can take care of anything on the battlefield if it's not Frilled Mystic. First things first, let's get this powerful Planeswalker off the battlefield.
I continue to like the idea of making Nissa a priority. The card is so incredibly powerful, but Nightpack Ambusher is going to look to mess that up a little bit in combination with Frilled Mystic and Negate. So if you're Seth, you're hoping that there's maybe a bit of a misstep here from Miguel and he plays into some of your counter magic in some sort of way. We know that that's not really possible right now with what's going on in Miguel's hand. So it looks like he's going to start by activating Gilded Goose.
So blocking the Mayhem Devil in the hopes that he won't get pinged for the final point of damage to finish it off, but Nightpack Ambusher will eat the dust as well as the Mayhem Devil. Gonna sacrifice a food here. We're just gonna munch it straight. Looks like it.
Yeah, a couple different ways to sacrifice the food here to trigger the Mayhem Devil, which is good news here for Miguel. So he's going to finish that Nightpack Ambusher off, as you did mention there, Ailey. You're also going to get a Trail of Crumbs trigger as well, and it looks like he's going to pay the mana for that. Noxious Grasp and Overgrown Tomb. So Overgrown Tomb is a selection, of course, because it's got to be a permanent.
Yeah, that's a risk. That's a risk off the sideboard. It's like, yeah, Trail of the Crumbs is real good at finding permanents, but all my removal spells, they kind of get sent to the back of the library.
Nissa's still on the battlefield. Very, very powerful card, of course. And what Seth is hoping for, assuming that it's still in his deck, and I'd be shocked if it wasn't, is Hydroid Graces.
Yep.
That's a card that can turn everything around, as it oftentimes does.
So we have a Castle Vantress. Let's get scrying. What can Seth Manfield find on the top of the library? Will it be the big jellyfish? It's an island and something else. I wonder what
Seth does not look thrilled about the selection. It was not an auto selection of Hydroid Krasis for him, so perhaps these cards are going to be going to the bottom. Difficult decision here for Manfield. He found another copy of Nissa. Interesting.
Spare Nissa is never a bad thing, especially when you've got a dinosaur running off your other one. So we still have the Frilled Mystic. We still have a Negate. We've got ways to scry for Seth. So he's just got to find this Hydroid Krasis. That's basically the way to come back into this matchup against these things that keep killing his stuff.
It's very, very helpful. Now, do note, 2 turns ago, Miguel had 2 Mayhem Devils in the battlefield. They're both gone.
Yeah,
and that's a problematic card for Manfield to be able to deal with. But it was an effort here for Miguel to get Nissa off the battlefield because that's somewhat difficult for him to deal with.
Yeah.
So because Miguel is putting such a priority on killing the Planeswalker, it makes some sense logistically to say, well, if you care so much about killing it, I'll take another one then. Because this one's at 3, this one's about to go to 6.
Yeah.
And you've had a heck of a time dealing 6 to the last one. So good luck dealing 6 to this one.
Yeah, good luck. Here you go. Have another one to deal with. And importantly, 2 extra bodies on the battlefield.
Yes.
Can double block the shifting Ceratops with the 2 greens, so we may well see that. But first things first, let's swing in. Let's keep applying pressure to the life total here. He's got the food, but he is getting the beat down too.
And Seth continues to be in a pretty good position with Negate and Frilled Mystic in hand. You mentioned Casualties of War as a card that could be very, very good. Negate and Frilled Mystic are going to kind of cover both of those.
Yeah.
And Cauldron Familiar is not a card I would be surprised if Seth counters it. It doesn't really do very much if Witch's Oven is offline, which it currently is because of the Sorcerer's Spyglass.
Yeah. I mean, it's a decent chump blocker with a Goose. You can still keep bringing the Cauldron Familiar back. It's not ideal, but it does also trigger the Trail of Crumbs, so we can draw through, try and find something to help Miguel out in the situation.
I think we're starting to get to the spot here where this Shifting Ceratops is becoming a pretty poor card on the battlefield here for Miguel. It's merely a 5/4. The protection from blue is not lining up accordingly, which is, I don't know if Seth and Brad and Javier built their deck with that in mind, but it's certainly coming to fruition right now that text doesn't matter that much because of Nissa and what it can do with the lands and double blocking. But this Wicked Wolf also may get countered here in just a moment by Frilled Mystic, and if that does happen, the dynamic on this game shifts in a big way.
Is there any reason for him to deploy that Wicked Wolf, though? Because he's got the chump blocker and the cat. He's got the Shifting Ceratops that can chump block. Well, not chump block, can block a land too.
The main reason is because the longer this game goes, the worse it gets for Miguel. And I mentioned 2 cards in that regard. One is Nissa because, well, it's Nissa. So if that's out there for a while, you're not winning. But that one, Castle Vantress.
Yes.
That's going to find Seth whatever he needs to win this game. So if we continue on an infinite timeline like it is right now, Seth is heavily advantaged because his draw steps are so much better than Miguel's because he can control them.
Again, 2 cards go to the bottom off the scry for Castle Vantress. What does he find now? That's another Sorcerer's Spyglass. I mean, that can shut off a Goose.
It's an interesting find there because it can shut off a Goose, as you mentioned. It could also maybe redundantly name Witch's Oven if you want to. Because if you want to put a mega priority on that never being active again, you can do that with a second Sorcerer's Spyglass. But here's what's most important about this card right now. It's not so much what it can name, it's the information that it's going to provide. Seth had an idea of what was in Miguel's hand with just the Blood Crypt. He knew about that one. But now he knows about, oh, you drew another redundant Witch's Oven. Awesome. Another Blood Crypt. Awesome. And a Witch's Wolf. Well, I've got a counterspell for that. So information is key with Sorcerer's Spyglass, and getting that info, Seth can tailor his plays accordingly and say, I'm pretty far ahead.
Yeah. So Gilded Geese, excuse me, I know English, making the 2 food tokens, opting not to use the Trail of Crumbs. A little shenanigan thingy to control the card.
Minor mistake by you there. Gilded Geese, Canada Gooses, for our Letterkenny fans out there.
Okay.
Some people will get the reference, I promise.
The Flappy Birds.
Yes.
Yes. So there we go. The 2 birdies are now shut off by the Sorcerer's Spyglass. Here comes Nissa Who Shakes the World, bringing more forests to the fray.
And so small thing here, I'm curious if Seth wants to attack. The reason I mention that is because obviously Shifting Ceratops can win a battle against a 3/3, but Seth might just say, I want to continue to kind of get some more damage in, and that is another irrelevant draw step for Miguel.
That's unfortunate. Another dud in hand. I mean, it is a blocker if you need it.
Trail of Crumbs has got some real work to do here.
So the Goose still able to do the shenanigans. But no more food being made from him. There's another Cauldron Familiar off the top. Another Witch's Oven. Again, not going to get anything done. Maybe he's just testing for counter spells at this point.
Yeah, a little surprised to see that get deployed right now, but it doesn't hurt to get on the battlefield in the off chance that you do take care of the Sorcerer's Spyglass. So
×2 though?
Yeah, I mean this is getting very, very difficult here for Miguel. And Seth, again, because of the castle, he's going to be able to control his draw steps. The castles have not yielded anything yet of consequence, but look, if I look at the top 2 cards in my deck every turn, I'm going to find what I'm looking for over time.
Eventually. So here comes Kitty Cat number 2. Cauldron Familiar, such a great little card. And I am in no way biased because that was my card reveal. I do like the cat, I like the oven, I like this combo that's evolved from it. So with now 3 geese, 2 cats, and a dinosaur. It sounds like the beginning of a rather epic tale.
Oh, yes, it does. Once upon a time it began. No, it didn't. You can't play that card anymore.
No, you cannot. So no more stories for you. Castle Vantress scrying yet again for Seth Manfield. Can he find what he needs? There's a puppy dog on top of the library. That is a Nightpack Ambusher. Is he going to keep that there and just try and match the creatures on the battlefield here?
I think what Seth is doing here is, you know, he just wants to gum it up.
Yeah.
That's the entire goal here. He shut off the sacrifice engine with Witch's Oven, so he can continue to just kind of gum things up. Now, you don't want to get too crazy here because Trail of Crumbs can work itself into the equation. And again, I am curious when Seth wants to start attacking. I don't think the answer is yet because do remember there's a lot of food tokens out there.
Yeah.
So and because of that, this actually means Miguel is at a higher life total than the 10 that's on the screen. You see Catcher's War going to the bottom.
All right. Well, there's one down. Can he find the others?
Now, do remember, the way that Seth is going to play this game for our viewers at home is that Seth is not going to open himself up to losing to Casualties of War or any other nonsense. That wall of counter magic and Frilled Mystic and Negate, I would be shocked if he ever puts that wall of counter magic down, especially with Nissa generating so much mana. He really doesn't ever have to.
Less than 9 minutes remaining in Miguel's timer. So this game has gone on a very, very long time. A shifting Ceratops off the top of the library for him. Can that help him win this game? If only these Gilded Geese were a little tougher, huh? Or a little bit more powerful, I should say.
Yeah, I wish those geese could actually deal some damage in the air. I think it's better that they're not one-power creatures, that's for sure. Card's already very, very, very good.
Yes.
And it's been instrumental for Miguel here this weekend.
So Seth Manfield just deliberating. Does he want to shut off another source of card draw for Miguel, or is he just going to let this fly?
Yeah, this one's a little bit interesting because, you know, is this one worth negating when there's food on the battlefield? Maybe yes, maybe no. It looks like the answer is no. I think Seth is putting more of a priority on having access to Frilled Mystic, or more importantly, activating Castle Vantress as he continues to look for ways to finish this game off.
And the way you do that, you know, big flying trample, bro.
Now, I don't want people to forget either here because I'm sure this is on Miguel's mind, and so it certainly should be on ours. Nissa's at 8.
Yes.
Good things happen for Nissa players when it's an 8.
Yes.
And that means a lot of lands are coming out of your deck and onto the battlefield. So there's not, in my estimation, a very clean way for Seth to get to Nissa this turn. Cauldron Familiar Shifting Ceratops is not going to do a great job of it. No Mayhem Devils on the battlefield. So if Seth wants to ultimate Nissa, that play should be available to him, on his next turn.
Rightly so, but first things first, let's get Nightpack Ambusher down onto the battlefield. Probably won't see him doing anything else on his turn unless he draws something absolutely bonkers. And yeah, we're going to see maybe a Nissa activation. Go find all the forests in the library and make sure all your future draws are just, you know, top notch.
Now, I was a little curious if Seth was going to activate his Castle Vantress on the end step because this actually puts the mana down as far as blue mana is concerned, and both of these cards are going to go to the bottom of his deck. So, mystery card being drawn, and it's a bit of a whiff there in a forest.
So now, there's a consideration to plus Nissa one more time and then ultimate her to keep her alive.
Some. And I don't know if Seth feels the situation has changed enough that he does need to ultimate right now. He could certainly say, yeah, I can just go up to 9 like you mentioned, and then -8 and still have my Nissa on the battlefield. That could be a play that Seth wants to make right now.
Now, seeing how things have shook out here, do you think it was more important for Miguel to keep the Mayhem Devils alive?
It's tough because, again, if you do play a game on what I'm calling an infinite timeline here, Nissa greater than sign Mayhem Devil a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But Mayhem Devil is so integral to what's going on here for Miguel, but his Mayhem Devil is going to continue to get worse because Witch's Oven was turned off. So it was a very, very difficult decision for Miguel when we jumped into this game about what he should be doing with his Mayhem Devils. Look, at the end of the day, if someone told you, I was trying to kill Nissa, you would go, okay, that makes some sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's all good. So Trail of Crumbs is going to trigger. What do we find off the top of the library? We're going to pay 1. There are 2 lands. Castle Locktoin's not too bad.
That's something.
Yeah, because we can draw cards and not lose them.
Now, it is a little bit dangerous because there are multiple cards in hand, so it's going to deal quite a bit of damage. And it's kind of this weird non-bow Trail of Crumbs, right? Trail of Crumbs puts cards in your hand. You want to get those cards out of your hand so that Castle Locktoin doesn't deal too much damage, but you can only play 1 land a turn. So this Wicked Wolf that he's been holding for a very long time, you're kind of incentivized to get that out of your hand now.
So, like you said, Wicked Wolf is going to join the fray. Let's see if it can find a target in the Nightpack Ambusher. Frilled Mystic in hand. Does Seth Manfield want to keep this pupper alive?
Well, Seth's been holding that Frilled Mystic for such a long time that I wish I could get into his head and say, hey, what are you holding this for exactly? And I imagine,
maybe.
I imagine his answer is something that's a problem.
Yeah.
and so what he gets to do because of the situation he's in, is he gets to decide, oh, well, Wicked Wolf, is that a problem? Apparently his answer is no, because it has resolved now.
So Wicked Wolf is going to fight one of these forests, possibly before they become indestructible themselves, sacrifices a food, gets the 1-1 counter, is tapped, and gets the 2 Trail of Crumbs triggers, finding a Blood Crypt. That was another Noxious Grass. That's the second one we've seen that could deal with this Nissa, unfortunately. Ooh, there's a Mayhem Devil. Okay, so now things are going to get a little tricky.
So that question I asked you about what card is a problem, that one.
Yeah, that one's a problem.
That's a card you actually care about if you are Seth. And I think that's the card that he was saving the Frilled Mystic for.
All right, let's see. Mayhem Devil, is he going to fire it off now? Is he going to risk it for the biscuit? He's got 7 minutes left on his clock. Time is ticking down in this final game between Seth Manfield and Miguel de Cruz Simões. Ooh, I mean, how do you? It's just a brick wall of green dudes, and now Seth Manfield's timer is also at 9 minutes. So these players are going to have to put foot. Oh, there we go. Hydroid Craces off the top. We've got a buttload of mana thanks to Nissa.
Now things do get somewhat interesting here in so far as, and we have seen this from multiple players here this weekend. It would be very easy for us to just go auto pay and dump all your mana into it, but you got to think about what could you draw, what's it gonna do if you draw the cards you're hoping to draw, all that good stuff. So Seth is unsurprisingly going to take a little bit of time here, figure out exactly how much he's supposed to pay for X with the Hydroid Craces.
Here come all the lands. Nissa, who shakes the world, empties the library of every single forest available.
And it is, and I will say this, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Seth says, I'm not casting Hydroid Craces this turn. I'll cast the next turn with all those lands I just got, but for this turn, look, I'm at 17, that's a ton. I've got counter magic to counter anything that you draw that I deem relevant, so I'm okay there. And I don't have to go towards Crasis right now. Now, a huge benefit here for Seth, because he did ultimate that Nissa, we can't forget about the emblem.
So the lands are indestructible. They're going to go swinging and have nothing to worry about. Both kitty cats go into the graveyard. Or just one cat, sorry. And yeah, things are looking a little bit tricky here for Miguel. Nightpack Ambusher. Going to get another puppy on the end step. Castle Locktwain. Going to deal 6 damage.
6?
Oh, Corvold, Fakehurst King is the draw off the top with another land. How many lands are you going to draw? All right, first things first. Mayhem Devil. This is what Seth Manfield knows about. Is he concerned about what was drawn off the top? Will we see this countered?
If I'm Seth, I take a look at things right now, right? And I say, I've ultimated Nissa. My lands are never going to die. Nightpack Ambusher, 2 wolves, huge. Hydroid Crasis coming soon to a theater near you. So what do I care about Mayhem Devil? You can make food with Gilded Geese. You can sacrifice food with Wicked Wolf to the Gilded Geese. So at best right now, you could probably, I don't know, 3, 4 triggers?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, sure.
It's not great.
Sure. I could certainly rationalize going, that's not that big of a deal. But he's going to counter
it. Seth thinks it is. That's another body on the battlefield. Counter magic on a stick in the Frilled Mystic, and that opens up the way for Corvold, Fakehurst King.
So the question now is, how scary is this card? It has been so good for our Jund Sacrifice players here this weekend. It's one of the reasons to be Jund instead of Golgari or Rakdos. And how good is it truly? This is its moment to shine.
Well, let's see what Miguel can get done here with Corvold, the Fakehurst King. Just a negate in hand to deal with his Trail of Crumbs for Seth Manfield. Is he going to find a better option than that? Probably with Casualties of War, I would imagine, which we haven't seen barring sent to the bottom of the library with the Trail of Crumbs. He's got 3 of them out now. Growth Spiral can help find another card off the top of Seth Manfield's library. Can also just Hydroid Craces for a bunch if he wants to. Oh man, things are getting yeah, a little tense here.
Yeah, what's interesting too is you see these players for Miguel, he's just got about 6 minutes left. For Seth, he's working himself under 6:30. Playing with time is very interesting insofar as how do you adjust to this mentally?
Yeah.
Are you going to rush your decisions and not think about them nearly as much? Are you going to say, you know what, that time does not matter. I still think I can win in that amount of time. But it's a factor now, and both players know it.
So this Hydroid Crasis he wants to make bigger than, well, bigger than Corvold, hopefully.
He wants to outsize Corvold, yeah.
Also bigger than the 2 reach creatures, potentially, in the Shifting Ceratops. Here, big fishy. So here we go, at 12-12, draw 6 cards, gain 6 life. What do we find off the top there? There's some more Frilled Mystic action for Seth Manfield, ×2, also with the 2 Growth Spirals and a Chemist's Insight, so he can draw a bunch, but what is he building up to here?
I think he may be building up to just more copies of Hydro Crisis. Now, he does get to... Okay, so if his lands attack, they don't get anywhere. 2 of them get blocked by Shifting Ceratops. Breeding Pool gets blocked by Corvold, so you're not getting... Or Wicked Wolf, either one. So you're not getting anything done there.
Yeah.
So Seth was coming up the ground, looking to do a huge attack. Miguel has come up the ground, and now he's activating multiple copies of Trail of Crumbs, looking for something in particular. So who is going to be able to cross the finish line first?
Both players equal time left on their clocks. Wicked Wolf off the top of the library with Trail of Crumbs. Will he pay another one? He finds an Overgrown Tomb. Duress, don't think it's going to help much here anyway if he was able to draw that.
The biggest problem here for Miguel is that
so much land.
I mean, the lands matter some, but not a ton. The biggest problem here for him is that he's not going to get to be able to resolve anything he wants to resolve.
No.
If there's a thing that he cares about resolving, Seth has 2 copies of Frilled Mystic and a Negate, so nothing is really going to resolve.
So just 2 basic lands left in the library. Corvold getting another trigger there, drawing the Gilded Goose. Sitting on the stack now, waiting for a response from Seth Manfield. It'll resolve, gets another food on the battlefield. Wicked Wolf tries to join the fray. I imagine this will get countered. What is it targeting? The Nightpack Ambusher, perhaps?
Probably, especially with there being a food on the battlefield.
Yeah.
It could be Nightpack Ambusher, and now Seth gets to decide how much does he even care about that. I think I would care about this insofar as I just want there to be one less thing on the battlefield that's in my way.
Yeah.
And if I counter that with a Frilled Mystic, I add something to my battlefield to be able to actually deal the points of damage. Looks like Seth is fine with this coming onto the battlefield.
So it looks like he's going to go for the Nightpack Ambusher.
Well, you're not going to you're not going to kill any lands. You're not going to get anywhere doing that. You can't kill Hydroid Crisis.
That's certainly a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, you could target Ambusher, and then, of course, with the trigger on the stack, you sacrifice a food, which means that Corvold's going to draw a card. Yada, yada, yada.
Hopefully not at risk of decking himself.
Well,
Goodness, so many lands.
I don't think that will be a concern, but it is something that is worth noting.
Well, I guess the more you dig through, the closer you get to all your, you know, your non-land permanents or your non-creature spells, I should say. There finally is a Noxious Grass, but that's just way too little, too late. Yeah, we can kill the Nissa, stop her making more lands, but I think it's just going to get countered.
Yeah, again, the benefit and the position that Seth is in right now is that he gets the option to decide what he deems relevant. Yeah. The problem is that he only has so much time to do so.
4 minutes, 4.5 minutes for each player left. So they're going to have to make their decisions quite quickly at risk of just, you know, running out of time. That's the worst way to go down. You don't want that to happen, so find a way. Let's get this game over and done with. Seth Manfield, Miguel de Cruz Simões. Don't go down to the clock.
Crisis is nice. What I think Seth needs to attempt to do is build large copies of Hydroid Crisis that can trample over for the W.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if he has copies of Aether Gust in his deck after Sideboard or not. We jumped into this game. I wanted to say midway through it. It was probably the early stages now, all things considered. If he does have Aether Gust in his deck, he could Gust back Corvold as an example.
Yeah.
That would be an option that would be afforded to him. But this game is starting to really become a mess right now, and Seth is underneath 4 minutes.
Ooh. So he wasn't even on time yet. We didn't even see his clock. It was Miguel we were concerned about, but now Seth is the one running out of time. 3.5 minutes as opposed to 4.5.
And they both have incredibly, incredibly tough decisions, and there's so much on the line.
Yeah.
The loser of this match goes home.
Everything to play for here on day 3. This is the lower bracket. Miguel versus Seth. One of these players will be going home at the end of this matchup, so yeah, this is getting very tense indeed. He's got so much mana, so many cards in hand.
Mana, cards, none of it's an issue. The problem is killing his opponent.
Yeah.
Land fights for us.
And now let's see. So he's got 6 lands, all of them indestructible. He can serve with all of those and the Hydroid Crisis. One thing that I will note, as we continue to watch this game, looks like he's going to click on all these lands. The Wolves tokens and the Frilled Mystic are going to hang back on defense. He's not panicking.
No.
He's cool,
He's
calm, and collected, with there being 2 minutes and 53 seconds left on the clock.
He is cool as a cucumber. So Miguel now has to tender some blocks because he is at 10 life.
Miguel,
The Crisis in the sky. We can get what, 1 blocker? No, we can get 2 of the shifting Ceratops if he wants to block like that. But looks like the Ceratops are just going to block the forests. Gilded Goose will block the Crisis. Don't forget that tramples.
yeah, this is starting to tough. You mentioned the trample. That's really, really important. He's at 10. He can sacrifice a food.
Yeah, he can
gain
sacrifice some
life.
food, gain some life, go up to 13. But still, you got to think he's losing a few blockers here, so he may just be.
I mean, this is how Seth has to build it.
Yeah.
Is he has to knock him down.
Yeah.
It's like chipping away at a rock. That's all he can do.
All right, so he's going to take 12 points of damage from the Hydro Crisis in the air. Finds a Thrashing Brontodon. That could... Oh, okay. That could kill a Sorcerer's Spyglass, perhaps.
But he's got 2 named on Witch's Oven if memory does serve.
No, 1 is on the Goose.
Okay.
So 1's on the Goose, 1's on the Oven. He is on 1 life. Is Seth Manfield on the verge of grabbing this victory?
For what it's worth, Brontodon's just not going to resolve.
No.
So.
Brontodon will never resolve.
Ignore me.
You know, in some other alternate timeline, Brontodon resolves and saves the entire team. But here comes a massive Hydroid Crisis just for the 8.
Seth has to make sure that he doesn't deck himself,
Yeah,
obviously.
that's probably like, oh, it could have been a massive Hydro Crisis, but it's not really that big anyway.
Yeah, and Seth just gets to deploy.
Yeah.
He gets to
he just gets to drop out his
play his
hand.
lands, play his Paradise Druids, make sure that you've got plenty of blue available for counter magic.
Another Witch's Oven, another dud off the top of the library. Thrashing Brontodon on the stack. We're going to see a Frilled Mystic counter this, and you've got to think it's all but over here for Miguel de Cruz. Simões. Noxious Grasp was going to take care of the big Hydro Crisis in the air, but little does he know there's another Frilled Mystic just waiting to counter it, as well as a Negate.
And Negate does it all the same. The only question you have to have right now if you're Seth is just make sure you've got plenty of blue mana. There's at least another Breeding Pool on tap, an island, a Castle Vantress, a Temple of Mystery, so it looks like he's got enough blue mana to counter more or less everything right now, and so he should be safe here from whatever Miguel is going to offer up.
So there's the Negate. 1 minute left on Seth Manfield's clock. 1.5 minutes, 3 minutes for Miguel. Frilled Mystic counters the Thrashing Brontodon. And you've got to think he's just going to overwhelm him here with this next attack.
Yeah, I mean, we as gummed up as this game is, and we're going to get a Corval trigger here for Mayhem Devil, which is a little late to the party. Seth should probably be able to use the attack all button with all of those knuckleheads on his next turn.
You know that big red button you like, Cedric?
It's one of my favorites.
I think we might see it pushed if we don't see a concession from Miguel, who put up a monstrous fight here against Seth Manfield, trying to get the victory.
Interestingly, we're going to see a Wicked Wolf be cast right now. That looks like it's going to resolve. It can fight something. It's going to fight one of these little 2/2s and win that battle. Seth was thinking about maybe casting Frilled Mystic on either the Wicked Wolf or the Mayhem Devil. Looks like he wants to go towards Nightpack Ambusher as well.
Yes. Here we go. Big red button time.
Let's see. 9 blockers.
Let's
yep,
go.
this should make it easy enough.
Seth Manfield swinging in for a decisive victory after a grueling match against Miguel de Cruz. Simões, the last remaining Jun... No, Piotr is still in there. One of the Jun Sacrifice players in the top 8. Congratulations to him for making it this far, but unfortunately he is going to fall to Seth Manfield, who stays alive in this tournament. What a game.
With a minute to spare, Seth Manfield, who added Paradise Druid to Simic Flash for him, Javier Dominguez and Brad Nelson, he moves on. He's still got plenty of magic left to play, but a lot of win and go home matches for Seth. But if anyone is going to be okay doing it, it's someone